Happy Father's Day. I'd like to take a moment to thank my father, who I'm sure is watching. They've probably got amazing T3 line upstairs. Dad, you warp my sense of humor in the most wonderful way. You also made it so that I understand there are some things in life which will come your way and there is no way to plan for them. I think I'll combine these two things when I have children of my own. I'll wait until they drift off to sleep, come in, kiss their foreheads, and whisper, "Avenge me." Live from Wattpad Nation, it's the Corner Booth. Welcome to episode 14, which we have a very, very, very amazing panel tonight. Not only do we have our page master back, Miss Lindsey Lippincott, but we also have our very special guest panelist, who goes by Elise Noble. I'm sure you've heard of her. She totes some reads along with her. She's got a few 100,000. So there are several Wattpadders out there who know exactly who she is. We're very, very happy to have her. And, of course, last but not least, we do have Rita and Ashlyn. They just keep coming back for more. I don't know why. But, yes, we are talking about cliffhangers tonight. And is there a thing as too many cliffhangers? Are we evil writers for, leaving our audience hanging the way that we do? But before we get through that, I want to start things off with what we call the high five. It's a way to introduce the panel in a fun way. I do want to let you know that anytime during the broadcast, if you have a question, a comment, a concern, or even if you want to hate on us, we had a hater earlier this week. You can use our hashtag TCBWatt, and we will be trolling the Tweety, and we'll also, be looking at our live comments. I see Brittany Charmentine has joined the group. Lucy Rhodes, Melody Shalern. Who else do we have? We have Lisa Adio. Hello. Cherry Shrestha. I'm sorry. And then we have, who else is on here? Gee. Yes, I got your Vine video. It's very, very funny. But if I missed anybody, I'm very sorry. Sally Mason, too. Hi, everybody that's watching live. Thank you so much for tuning into the broadcast. I know that some people got up really early or are staying up very late to see this broadcast, so it's an honor and a privilege to have you. So, that being said, without further ado, we have our little, I guess, weird way to introduce each other. This week, I gave the panelists each a name, and it's another person on the panel. And so what they have to do is they only are able to say 5 adjectives to describe that person. And then everybody else on the panel has to guess who it is. So I'm going to start with Miss Rita Kovach.
Thanks, Nat. Well, I wrote these 5 words with one specific panelist in mind, but I now realize it can pretty much be about any one of you wonderful people. So good luck trying to figure it out. However, just to play along, here they are. Mysterious, gracious, supportive, cool, and talented. Who am I describing, Corner Booth?
Anybody got to take a stab in the dark? Ashlyn? Lindsey? Elise?
Elise, maybe? I don't know.
Who is it, Rita?
It's Elise Noble.
Elise, you can put those 5 adjectives on your resume, girl. All right. I'm going to bounce over to Ashlyn McCowan. What 5 adjectives do you got for us to kind of take a stab?
So mine apply to a person they're writing. Okay, but, they can apply to everyone as well, so, except for the last one. Perceptive, humorous, intelligent, satirical, and swashbuckling.
She's actually describing me. I'll take all 5 of those adjectives. No, okay.
That would have been my guess, yeah.
Elise, Lindsey, Rita, who do you think she's talking about?
I'm guessing Rita.
Yeah.
Wow. We're kind of like 2 for 2. You guys are really good at this. I think you all cheated. Probably talked to each other. So, who did you have? We won't let Nat know. Miss Elise Noble.
I do. Okay, so I went with creative, shadowy, musical. That was a bit of a guess. Adventurous and social.
I can't really guess because I know who it is.
It's
I'm going to say Lindsey.
Is it Nat?
No, it's not me. It's not me. I wasn't in this.
Oh, you're not in this?
No. It's even numbers.
Oh.
It is Lindsey. It is Lindsey.
Yeah.
So Lindsey, are you musical?
Yes.
Ooh, good. You took a shot and you nailed it, Elise. All right, so Lindsey, what are your 5 adjectives?
So mine are careful, conscientious, contemplative, compassionate, and captivating.
Everybody knows the law about like process of elimination, so it would have to be. It is Ashlyn McCowan. So now that we've kind of stroked everybody's ego, we're going to go over to cream or sugar, which is my favorite part of the broadcast. It's where we put you in the spotlight, you Wattpad Nation, and it's either, you know, the people that have risen to the top just kind of came out of nowhere and surprised us all, or the people who, you know, have already been established and we just really, really love them to death. So I'm going to start with our special guest panelist, Elise Noble. Who do you have for cream or sugar?
Okay, so for cream, I have my newbie. Well, not so new, but a less read book, and that's Brown Eyed Girl 65 and The Road North 2.0. There's also a Road North original version, and what's interesting is she's put the editing notes in Road North 2.0 together with the revised story, so you can see how it worked as it went along. So it's also a lesson in the editing process, as well as being a good story to read. And Sugar was an easy one. It has to be Sugar by Michelle Jo Quinn. It's a book she's just started. It's only got a few chapters up, but I'm looking forward to reading the rest of it.
We love Michelle Jo Quinn at the corner booth. She is awesome.
She is indeed.
Miss Lindsey Lippincott, who do you got for cream or sugar?
Okay, well, I have 2 of them, and the first one, last time I was on, I talked about the person who got me onto Wattpad and got me to complete a story, and this time I'm talking about a person who actually got me started writing, which is my friend Shelby Seamers, and her username is ShelbySeam. And I'm talking about her story, The Cinderella Contract. So it's kind of like it follows, you know, the Cinderella guidelines or whatever, but you have the girl who goes abroad and she meets a guy, doesn't realize that he actually is indeed a prince, doesn't realize that, they mix up their cell phones, end up having to reconnect later. I haven't gotten too far into it because life happened. But
Stupid life.
Yeah, I know. So she's working on that, and it's awesome. She's been texting me like off and on about different ideas that she has whenever she gets like an epiphany. So that's really cool. And then the other person is Sleepless Beauty with her book Hunger. And that one we have a girl named Aya who is blue. And she actually she's a little girl when we meet her, and she lives in the woods alone. Her home is a blue birch, and she's been hunted by people. You get the sense, like right off the bat, there's just danger. She ends up meeting a guy who is there to actually help her, and instead of going after her to find her, he instead takes the tactic of sitting there waiting, letting her approach him. And they make their way out of the woods eventually, and they start their own journey where she discovers the power, like she discovers the power that she has, and she starts learning how to control it. And he helps her, and there's a bunch of people along the way, and it's been a fantastic book so far. I'm over halfway through. I've another one that I've ended up stopping recently, but I picked it back up for a couple chapters recently, and I can't wait to keep continuing on with that one.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Lindsey. I'm going to spoil one of you right now, Miss Rita Kovach. You just got a tweet from @ByUnanonymous, Archie. She says, "This is definitely R.S. Kovach's expertise. LOL. Keepers delivered until the 21st chapter. #TCBWatt." So, yeah, they were.
Thank you, Archie.
They were just as impressed as everybody else. So I am going to go to you now, Miss Rita, for your cream or sugar shout-outs.
Okay, thanks, Nat. My first shout-out tonight is to Gary Jarvis, a.k.a. Gary Jarvis 1976. Gary wrote The Richmond Haunting, which is a really intense horror story written as though it was a chronicle or a documentary of real-life paranormal events. What I really want to highlight Gary for is that he's an exemplary Wattpadder. He's very active in the forums, very social, he reads a lot, he supports the entire community. He's also a revision junkie, always making changes and tweaks to both his writing and to his covers to make them the best they can be. And I think it's wanting to be better at your craft and doing everything possible for it is commendable. So that's why I wanted to give my first shout out to Gary Jarvis. My second shout out is to Ricky Pine, aka @RickyPine, for his book Red Rain. I got to know Ricky recently because he is a big supporter of the Corner Booth, including often watching along live on YouTube. I don't know if he's watching live tonight, but with the other regulars. So hi guys. Ricky dedicated a chapter in one of his books to me recently, and like I usually do after dedications, I dropped by the book and read the first chapter. What I hadn't realized was that this was the third book in a series, so no wonder I was really confused. I wrote a long comment on how there were too many characters and not enough world building. It's a paranormal with angels and demons. And after which, Ricky graciously pointed out that this was all explained in books 1 and 2. Oops, my bad. So I went back to his first book, read the first chapter, and surprise, it all made sense, and it was very well written. So I would like to recommend that you drop by Red Rain, the first book in this series from Ricky Pine, and start at the beginning, and I promise you'll really like it.
Yeah, don't pull a Rita Kovach and start in the middle of a series, people. I would be like, well, Rita, you've written a series, yes, or at least kind of in the process of doing it. It goes The Pirate King and I, and then The Reluctant Pirate Queen. Is that correct?
That's right. Yep.
And is there gonna be a third?
Potentially, yes. Let me finish book 2, and then we'll see.
Come on, what's the matter with you? You should be done with that by now.
Yeah. I just finished 2 books in the last 2 weeks. What do you want from me now?
No, but seriously, I actually got to know Rita through her book, The Keepers, that's on Wattpad. If you love gothic horror, or even if you don't, if you're like on the fence about gothic horror, she does it ridiculously well. So I'm now going to go over to Miss Ashlyn McCowan, who has written several stories, but one of the most notable ones is a 2014 Waddy Award winner called Stained Glass Souls. And if you haven't seen the YouTube video that's the promotional tool for it, it's awesome as well. So she's very definitely multifaceted. Miss Ashlyn McCowan, who do you have for cream or sugar?
All right. Thank you about the video. I actually didn't make it. I have the shout out and the little
Take the compliment and run.
All right, so I have 2 sugar. My first one is Repeat After Me by Rowena Wilson at Out of Print Writer. The tagline is this: 2 street artists find themselves painting on the same wall, but their relationship is anything but straightforward. The story is narrated by a teenager named Ivy who lives in middle-class suburbia by day and by night covers the streets in art. Her relationship with her fellow artist, Aston, can be complicated. He can be rude and not so charming at times, but as a reminder of the nuances of love, he ultimately helps her find a purpose and concentration of the mission of her art and gives her a greater perspective of the world of street art. And Rowena just has this beautiful way of putting her sentences and her words together that really kind of captivated me. So I would definitely recommend that if you're looking for someone that maybe thinks outside of the box in terms of structure. My second sugar is Ragnarok Undone, and I might have mispronounced that, so I apologize, by Jessica M. Butler at Jessica B. Fry.
Yeah.
It's actually the sequel to Ragnarok Unravels, which I read as well, but I just feel like the story deserved a little more recognition. Ragnarok, for those of you who don't know, and I had to look this up, is basically the end of the pre-Christian Norse's mythical cycle, during which the cosmos and all the gods and goddesses are destroyed. So that's kind of the timeline that the story operates on, which is very interesting. The story picks up after Sopa, Loki's wife, has left him after he betrayed her. And she flees to Atlantis and is caught up in fate, old connections, and the future of her cursed daughter, all of which bring her closer to the end of the world and to the man she fell in love with. The story I personally found interesting just because she explores, if you're looking for something different than the Marvel version of mythology, I would definitely recommend that. It's a little more rooted in traditional Norse mythology and very interesting. So
Absolutely. We love Jessica Fry. She's awesome. She actually did one of our first reviews ever of Corner Booth. She watched the pilot episode, and man, she gave us a rave review, which was awesome. So definitely check her out if you haven't already. She is going to be on a broadcast very, very soon. Her summer is jam-packed busy because she does a lot with youth activism with her church, which is really awesome. And you can just tell that she's a sweetheart all the way around. I do kind of want to, let's see, go to these comments that we're getting on our live feed. Yes, we did something. It was called 2-week notice for a while. I actually have run into the problem of something called copyright infringement, and it is where we use music to back that, and I don't own that music. So rather than continue forward with that, I am in the process of actually recording original music, or at least covered music, and that will be the background to what we call roll credits. It is going to be a complete list video, kind of the same way that you would see like at the end of a movie, and that will happen after episode 25. Because that's how many we're doing in a row before we take a small break and come back, hopefully with season 2. Hopefully Wattpad is still on board with it, because this is, proprietary stuff that they do own. So if at any time they kind of get upset with me, I'm sure they can shut us down. But I do kind of want to let everybody know that we are working, in our spare time, which I'm sure that you're familiar with the fact that a lot of us don't have a lot of spare time. So if you can be patient with us, I know that we ask a lot of that. I ask a lot of patience from my panel. And it's just kind of, we will get these things to you. We do want you to have the names of these books that we're shouting out. And if you hear somebody that's getting multiple shout-outs, it probably means you should check them out. Because very rarely are you going to have a panelist that says, an author twice, unless they're highlighting 2 different books, which is okay. Now, I want to get over to the entree, which is a part of the broadcast, the meat of the discussion. And, of course, like I said, this week we're talking all about cliffhangers. And first, before we do, I guess, anything else, we need to kind of establish what we actually know about cliffhangers. While I'm doing that, I'm going to be pulling up a document that has everything for this specific episode, because I have several things open on my computer right now. But I do also want to let everybody know that we have a Wattpad mug winner from last episode. She goes by, let's see, it is Issa Archangel. On the Tweety, she goes by @silverdoe_. You shared with us last week exactly what your most prized possession was, and congratulations. Send me a direct message either on Twitter or Wattpad with your address, and I will get you one of these. Please be patient with that as well. It takes about 4 to 6 weeks for delivery. That being said, I want to let everybody know on how to win the next Wattpad mug. It's very, very simple. All you have to do is use our hashtag TCBWatt on Twitter, or you can actually leave it in the comment section below this video, and you can tell us about somebody who you've shared the Corner Booth with. So anytime that you've said, hey, check out this, or rather than just retweeting one of us, tell us about somebody who you've actually talked to about this project, because we'd love to hear the story. So that is that. I'm sorry, I'm like really behind. Oh man, it's not opening. Give me 1 second. I'm very sorry. This is all dead air, and I know that there's going to be one person in particular that says, hey, you remember that time that you had a lot of dead air on one of your episodes? Yes, I remember that time. Good times. Good times. Okay, so for question number 1, I am going to start with Miss Lindsey Lippincott for this. And number 1, first, we need to establish the denotation. In your opinion, what makes a really good cliffhanger?
Okay. Well, on Wednesday, I shared a picture on the Corner Booth Facebook page that had a little bit of a meme that said, stayed up really late to finish book, ... cliffhanger. And it has the guy flipping the table because he's upset, which is a general feeling that you get when you hit a cliffhanger and you don't have anything left to read. So that's sort of the reaction that I love to have when I reach a cliffhanger. It's a love-hate relationship that you get because you hate it because you're left dangling there wanting more, but you love it because you know there's going to be more, and you're going to get that resolve eventually. So kind of like a long story short, in my opinion, a really good cliffhanger is something that leaves you wanting more, not just wanting, but salivating and unable to wait for that next little nibble, whether it be between chapters in the same book or waiting for the next book to come out in a series.
Awesome. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Miss Elise Noble.
Okay, so I think my readers will probably agree that I'm quite a big fan of cliffhangers, judging by the amount of comments I get berating me for leaving them hanging. And to me, that's the sign of a good cliffhanger. If people are asking for updates within 5 minutes of me posting a chapter, then I've probably done my job right. So yeah, I think that a good cliffhanger will leave an unanswered question, and it will make people want to turn the page. I also think that to make a cliffhanger good, you have to give people an answer reasonably soon. So I do like to update regularly so that people aren't left hanging for too long, and that way hopefully they won't get too mad at me.
Yes, because everybody could probably be mad at Elise Noble for, you know, not releasing enough material. Holy crap, you have like 1 million books posted on Wattpad. Like, if you get tired of one Elise Noble book, you can go to another one, people. She has several available, and they're all just like breakout statistic-wise. I mean, girl, you got some stats on your books. Miss Rita Kovach.
Okay, thanks, Nat. First of all, let me say that I think this is my favorite corner booth topic so far because, like we know, I also love cliffhangers, and I totally agree with what Lindsey said, is that I love writing them, but not reading them because they can be pretty frustrating from that other side. I believe there are two types of cliffhangers, actually, the teaser and the revelation. Both serve to make readers want to eagerly continue on to the next chapter, but they do it in different ways. The main purpose, I think, of the teaser cliffhanger is to move your plot along. Its details aren't necessarily crucial to the story, but without them, your reader may find it easier to put your book down. And an example of a teaser cliffhanger is from one of my books. The main character would get a phone call that her office was broken into at the end of the chapter, leaving the reader wondering about the details. Who broke in? Did they take anything? What was the purpose of the theft? They'll need to go to the next chapter to find out, because that's where she'll go to the scene, talk to a detective, and fill in the missing information. This event isn't crucial to the main plot of my paranormal suspense, but the teaser was there to set up the change in locations, thereby serving as a transition to another part of the narrative. Now, the revelation type cliffhanger, on the other hand, does what its name implies. It gives a large chunk of information about a critical plot point. For example, at the end of one chapter, my main character meets a person who claims to be someone very important to her from her past. This detail is crucial to the story, therefore this is an important new piece of information. In the next chapter, the new character will reveal more about himself, which will serve to drive the events in the rest of the book. So really, a good cliffhanger, whether a teaser or a revelation, is one that urges the reader to turn the page to the next chapter and not put your book down, because one of the best compliments a writer can get from a reader is, I read the whole thing in one sitting.
Absolutely. That's a compliment right there. Anytime that somebody says that, yeah. I mean, that's it's probably one of the highest compliments that you can ever receive. Besides the fact of, hey, I told somebody or so-and-so about your book, and then that person comes over, it's just, that's an unbelievable feeling. Yeah, Rita, she had a lot to say about that one, so I hope you all took some good notes. It's very, very pertinent information for any writer to know the difference. And I'm glad that it only took 14 episodes to impress Rita with the topic, you know? I mean, finally she's like actively interested in an episode. Jeez, it took forever. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding, Rita. I love you, Rita. Miss Ashlyn McCowan, what do you got for us?
All right. Well, I believe that all good cliffhangers have a trick to them. And the trick is this. They are sprung when and only when the reader is invested in the story. If a cliffhanger is poorly placed, the reader will not care about the suspenseful situation or the fate of a character they've just met. In my opinion, it kind of works the same way as early deaths in books do. If you kill the characters too soon, your reader will be apathetic. If you kill the character too late, you will have a riot on your hands. Cough. Allegiant. Cough.
What book? Allegiant? I thought that was like emergency toilet paper.
Sorry about that. Okay, so I think it's all about placement and feasibility, and at the end of the day, it's really about strong writing. Personally, I think they should be used with a light hand and only when necessary to propel your plot forward. When they're kind of dropping at every scene in every chapter, they begin to get a little gimmicky, and kind of the reading or the experience of the cliffhangers lessened, unless, of course, you can write cliffhangers very well, like Rita and Elise can. But in summary, I would just say remember the reader, and place more importance on good writing and a watertight plot than, you know, trying to leave your reader in suspense at the end of every chapter.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, if you're going to do a cliffhanger, have a reason for it. I mean,
Right.
that's a huge kind of component of cliffhangers, I think. But yes, I don't know how many people have taken a look at one of Ashlyn's, you know, I guess it's not as big as Stained Glass Souls, but I couldn't get enough of it. It was called 8 Minute Infraction, and it soars into like really, really crazy cerebral kind of elements. And I think that the biggest thing is that at the end of every chapter there was a reason to keep going. And I think that like some people they try to like you said, it's almost like a gimmick, like, you know, a
Right.
flashbang, and then as soon as the next chapter starts, it's like, just kidding, that was not even important. I just wanted you to, you know, skip forward and come over. So yes, absolutely. Which now we're over to question number 2. But before we do that, there is one person who said something that it made me laugh. It was Lynette Santiago. She said, "If I don't close the book and change at least 3 shades of colors, it was not a good enough cliffhanger."
Very true. Very true.
Oh, it is awesome. I love it. Thank you so much, Lynette. Number 2. Now that we got that out of the way, let's talk about this. Is there such a thing as too many cliffhangers? When do you know when the compositional device is being overused? How do you use it wisely? Miss Lindsey Lippincott.
Okay, so writing on Wattpad is interesting. In my opinion, it's harder as well as easier than being a published author. With Wattpad and any other online format that is similar, you have to sell your book over and over, chapter after chapter, if you want the reader to come back. Whereas with a published author, they buy the book once you've got your money, and whatever happens, happens. So with but being on Wattpad where you're updating the readers can just stop at any moment for any given reason, whether you made them angry, whether they just lost interest. So that means that a lot of people will use cliffhangers to try and keep them interested. And I know that it's a method that I do use throughout my story. I'm pretty sure everyone uses them because cliffhangers. So the different I update okay, hang on. I don't think that cliffhangers are the only thing that you need to use to keep a reader interested. Like Rita was talking about earlier, there are the different cliffhangers, the different types that do different things. You can plant questions into the reader's mind. You don't necessarily have to do that at the end of the chapter. You can do it in the middle of the chapter. You can do it at any point. Just plant something in the reader's mind so that they want to keep reading. They want to figure out that question, whether it be in the next chapter or chapters after that. But if you're going to make something that's later down the road, you want to make it a really good question that they really want answered. So you just start leaving like little breadcrumbs here and there to make the readers want to know more, and you make them crave the answer to something that you presented to them. So I do think that there is such a thing as too many cliffhangers, but with Wattpad, it's a dangerous road, one that you have to tread carefully because you need those. Those are essential, but you don't want to have too many.
Absolutely. Too much of a good thing, I guess, is the best way to put it. But like I said, if you can be serialized writing in general, it's I don't know. Sometimes it's a necessity to put some sort of hook at the end. It's kind of like you have to have a hook at the beginning and you have to have a hook at the end. I would be really interested to hear about any writer out there who doesn't write cliffhangers. And well, okay, I should correct that. Who doesn't write cliffhangers, but also doesn't just tell short stories or vignettes or something like that. Because, I mean, I know that some people will say, oh, I never write cliffhangers. Well, I mean, you write short stories, which I have nothing against short storytellers. But, yeah, I don't know. It just seems like it would be a really, really interesting kind of exercise if somebody, you know, wrote a complete story that didn't have, like, I guess the usual cliffhangers. Hopefully we can get some further expansion on this. Miss Elise Noble.
Is there such a thing as too many cliffhangers? I would say on Wattpad probably not, because like Lindsay said, you do need to keep hooking the readers back in. But I think, again, it's timing. I think if you keep ending on massive cliffhangers and then not updating for months, people will still lose interest and also become quite frustrated with you because you never answer their questions. In a published book, I think it's also not so bad because you've got the whole book there. You can just keep turning the page, and the only problem there is if you're running late for work. But luckily I work flexi time, so I can just keep reading. I think the time I really dislike cliffhangers is when you get to the end of the book and the next book in the series isn't available. So I'd say that's probably the only time they really frustrate me as a reader. But yeah, as a writer, I think you do need to keep the readers hooked. And if you just send a chapter on, oh, they went to bed and that was it, then people aren't going to really want to read the next page. They might leave it for weeks and then forget to pick the book up at all. So a cliffhanger is good for me.
Well, I do want to share with you something that Miranda on Twitter said. She goes by @AM Naradu. She says, and I forgot, @Elise Noble is the queen of all cliffhangers on Wattpad. So thank you, Miranda, for sending us that, and I'm sure that Miss Elise Noble really, really appreciates the compliment. Going over to, let's go over to Miss Ashlyn McCowan.
Are we on question 2?
Yes, we are on question 2. I know that you fell asleep. It's okay. You didn't hurt anybody's feelings with that one.
Oh, it's been a really long day. Okay. So I think absolutely you can abuse cliffhangers. And I'm going to give an example, but I would like to disclaim first my example that I'm not trying to bash the book I'm about to use. I don't think we should dismiss other writers' efforts just because maybe technically or structurally they have a few issues. But my example is that there's a 3-book series on Wattpad that's very, very popular. The brunt of the writing and of each book focuses on cliffhangers that, as I said, kind of hang up every scene, every angle, and every character. Stylistically, if you find yourself kind of dropping cliffhangers that often, I think you need to find a new way to approach your scenes and your characters. I would just say write naturally. Don't try to force it. It will seem kind of maybe false or, again, just forced. I would just say get creative. Try to find new ways to incorporate suspense and tension in your scenes. Maybe tinker with the interior motives of your characters or how you're presenting each scene. Just give yourself kind of freedom experimentally and allow the cliffhangers to be driven by this genuine progression of events to avoid kind of overusing them.
Ooh, I like that. I like that a lot. I think, oh man, don't force it. That's a really, really good thing good mantra, I guess, in general. But I just listening to it and just hearing there's this one she's gotten several shout outs, but she goes by @Morgan's Muse or her name's Liz Madrid. And one of the things that I love about her writing is that she writes seductively, and it's not that her books abandon cliffhangers, because they're definitely in there, but it's just you can really, really tell that this person is so invested in the story. Not that other writers aren't, but she just gets really, really intimately close with her characters, almost to an uncomfortable degree. And it's like when you're like on the precipice of just pushing the envelope too far, she pulls back and she knows exactly where to do it. So Liz Madrid, yes, I'm talking about you. Miss Rita Kovach.
Nat, I kind of like how the panel today is a little divided on this subject. I don't know if we've had this before. Where
I
it's
like the friction.
Right? 2 against 2. We could have like an all-out brawl of,
Yes, I want to see that. I want to see a chick fight, a chick writer fight. That would be sexy.
Okay, but in all seriousness, in my opinion, I think cliffhangers are like bridges between chapters, and because these are always needed, I don't think there's such a thing as too many cliffhangers. However, like I said earlier, where I compared the teaser and revelation type cliffhangers, I think they should be used differently. Teasers should always outnumber revelations, obviously, because you can't give away a large plot point in every chapter or even every other chapter. These should be placed at critical points in the book to keep a good pace. But you also can't rely on teasers alone either. You should keep the reader interest by making small revelations within your chapters, whether it's introducing new characters, locations, backstory, or whatever else that acts as independent arcs, which when put together build the overall narrative arc of the book. So think of chapters as independent parts of the whole that should be somewhat satisfying by themselves, but which when cleverly connected by cliffhangers come together to tell your complete story.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Rita. I do want to give a shout out to somebody who just joined in. He watches all of our broadcasts, it seems like, right on when we're broadcasting live. His name's Carl O'Connor. And Carl, you don't go unnoticed, man. You're just kind of like in a sea of women right now. As far as like the people commenting. So yeah, thanks. Thank you so much, Carl, for continuing to just be a part of this project. You're very, very, very valued. Now we are going over to a portion of the broadcast called Pass the Salt, and it is where the panel is going to give you honesty in 140 characters or less, which makes it tweetable. If you are enjoying these little statements that they make at any time, if you would use our hashtag TCBWatt, all of these panelists are on Twitter, so you can tag them in it. And we've actually had a couple. I think Lindsey, she's shared a few really, really nice ones, and I really enjoy that. So thank you for doing that, Lindsey. And I'm going to start with the newbie on our panel, Miss Elise Noble. What do you have for us as far as our honesty in 140 characters for Pass the Salt?
I suppose for me, I would just say from the heart. If you talk from the heart, it's going to be honest.
Absolutely, and I think
less
that.
Than 140 characters.
Yeah, no, that's cool. I mean, it's just like boom. That's all I gotta say about it, and just kind of drop the mic and walk away. Yeah, you're very gangster, Elise. I can tell that about you. You're very thug.
It's Twitter style, short and sweet.
Miss Lindsey Lippincott, what do you got for us?
All right, so I have write what you want to write. If you like it, at least one other person will too.
Ooh. You're not alone. You're not alone with what you're passionate about. Yes, absolutely. And sometimes that's just kind of like somebody will be writing something and I won't necessarily get it, but then, they find, that one person that really gets them as a writer. And I think there's something really, really great about that, and Wattpad, facilitates that. So way to go, Wattpad. We love you. Of course. I mean, we wouldn't be doing these broadcasts otherwise. Miss Ashlyn McCowan.
All right. So mine concerns diversity, which the panel's talked about. Not this week, but I still wanted to use my quote. So it's write responsibly, grace, tact, and respect trump even impeccable character development when handling tough topics.
Absolutely. It's all about the development, right?
Right.
Miss Rita Kovach.
If you feel stuck, go with the flow. Don't force the words. Let the story tell itself to you.
Boom! That was a grenade. I love that. That's great. Somebody better tweet that. If you're on Twitter, tweet that, please. I'll love you forever. Okay, and I am over to something that we got in our mailbag. This is a wrap-up of our broadcast. It's called Check, Please, and it's just kind of a quick summation of what we've been talking about, which has been cliffhangers, and whether or not they're evil or necessary or necessary evil. I don't know. I'm not a very good writer. Okay, so we are going to go over to @TheBirdsMelody on Wattpad. She goes by Melody Shallern. Thank you for writing the pronunciation for me in that little message. That was appreciated. I wanted to ask, this is what she says, I wanted to ask, maybe since we're talking about diversity, which, I mean, we just were last 2 episodes, we could also talk about physical and mental disabilities in Wattpad books. We see books like Fault in Our Stars by Mr. Green, and it's about cancer. I know some people who write about these types of diverse topics, not necessarily or specifically cancer, but different mental, physical illness disabilities. I feel that MCs with one or both of these that move the plot forward are pretty invisible from Wattpad and the whole scope of books. So, panel, how do we feel about this? I'm going to start with, let's start with Ashlyn McCowan on this.
All right. I do agree that they're quite invisible, and I think the biggest thing is if you see a lack of something, maybe that's the signal that you need to step up and write a book. I actually am going to be writing a book with a character that has a physical disability in the future. She's got her leg missing, and that's kind of like the focus of the story. But I think it's something that needs to be tackled. But again, if you see the gap, I would just encourage you to go ahead and write a story. Try something new and try to build a bridge there. So.
Ooh, I like that. Build a bridge. That's a perfect way of looking at it. Miss Elise Noble.
Okay. I think when I first started out writing, I tended to stick quite close to home and write about the types of characters that I knew. And as I've written more books, I've become more experimental and become a bit braver in trying to step outside of my own little world. So the 9th book in the Blackwood series, not on Wattpad yet and won't be for a while, the main male character is mixed race, which was quite a challenge. And the new series I've just started writing, the main female character in the first book has a physical disability. One thing I do appreciate about Wattpad is if I do make a mistake or inadvertently offend someone, which I have done because I just don't know everything, people have told me about it so I can correct it, and I'm always grateful for that.
Yes, absolutely. Well, I think we've talked about this several times, about the fact that Wattpad is your best source of beta readers, because you can get just a sample group that is just, I mean, money can't buy it. You're talking about people worldwide. People worldwide are watching this broadcast, which is unbelievable. And I think, having that in whatever capacity is just, it's an amazing gift. And if you're not using it, then if you're not using it, you're losing it. We actually got something from Crazy Wolf, who goes by @CrazyMcVenom on Twitter. And Rita probably gave like the best definition of cliffhangers and the 2 subpoints that go underneath it. So I'm going to give this to you, Rita. How do you know you use too many cliffhangers?
How do you know if you use too many cliffhangers? Well, definitely on Wattpad, your reader's going to tell you that the cliffhanger you left them with wasn't resolved in the next chapter. I would say, it's not necessarily too many, but not using them right. Going back to my previous examples of just, and what some of the other panelists have mentioned, is just using them for the sake of using them, kind of as a gimmick, so that if they're not satisfactory to the reader by the time they're at least halfway done with the next chapter, then they're going to see that you don't know what you're doing or how you're using it. So I think they will definitely let you know that it doesn't fit with the type of story you're writing. So it definitely also depends on the story, and does it make sense in there. I think maybe in some suspense and mysteries, cliffhangers work better than in just a regular romance or a chick lit, for example, just off the top of my head.
Sure. And I mean, don't let that discourage you either. I mean, the whole point of Wattpad and the whole point of the interaction that Wattpad provides is so that you can make mistakes. I've made plenty. So it's just kind of, make sure that you revel in your mistakes and almost, have a party when somebody's pointing them out. Because if people are pointing out your mistakes, it means that they're reading your work incredibly close. And that's awesome. I mean, when somebody's just so invested in your story that they have to say, hey, what's up with this plot hole? The fact that they noticed the plot hole in the first place should be a really good compliment. Rita, if you can keep going with how we were talking about the diversity topic with disabilities, and
Sure.
If you could kind of expand on that.
Oh, absolutely. I actually have a recommendation for a wonderful book on Wattpad, which was, I believe, the second book that I finished. The first one was actually Elise's Trouble in Paradise, if I can give a shout out to that. But this would be Follow Me Back. And the main character is actually agoraphobic because of a psychological trauma that happened to her while she was in college. And this is like a romantic suspense / thriller, which is great. And a lot of it does center around just her mental state and how she deals with that, with some new things, and the action kind of builds upon that. So I would definitely suggest that you check that out. It's called Follow Me Back. The author is either Adam and Jane or Jane and Adam. I'm sorry, I can't remember exactly.
Well, the shout out of the book is pretty awesome, just in general. And for those of you who do not know, technically agoraphobia is the opposite, the antonym of claustrophobia. The more you learn. Ding! Miss Lindsey Lippincott.
I think I would really have to agree with what Ashlyn said, where if you're seeing a lack of something in the writing world, no matter what it is, if it's about diversity or whatever the topic, to just go ahead and start writing something in that. Like, the act of writing in published books is all about trends, and if you're seeing a lack of something, then you write it, and maybe you'll start a trend. But then you also get into the area, the bad side that we were talking about, where people write in it just because it's a fad, and if you overpopulate that, then like, is it really doing its job? So I guess, start it if you're seeing a lack in it, and just try not to overdo something, I guess.
Yeah, well, I mean, like we said, yeah, the whole, I think it's an art form to figure out like the sweet spot of not overdoing it. So Lindsey, I want to ask you, who's Tammy Johnston?
That is my stepmother.
She's watching. That's so awesome.
Yeah.
She's like, Lindsey is the one that got me hooked on, what did she say? Into Wattpad, and I love it. And then she goes on to say, and now she has her dad hooked into the show, which is so awesome. That is so great. I hope that, people are, and I will count that as an entry, the fact that, she's sharing it. And her mother is just like actively engaged. So welcome, stepmother of Lindsey Lippincott. We're very happy to have you. I know that when Marielle Tabor is on a broadcast, her husband watches the episodes, and he watches them pretty close too. I mean, he'll tell you when something's wrong, and which is great. I mean, you want that kind of that critic that's a little bit critical. I know that sounds redundant. Wow. Like I said, I'm a really good writer. So I just kind of wanted to reiterate what I was saying earlier about winning a Wattpad mug. Please tell us about these people who you've interacted with either on the corner booth during a broadcast or someone that you've shared it with, and then tweet us about just a little bit of the experience, because we would love to hear about these connections that you're making, because that's half the fun of Wattpad is when you actually find somebody to connect with. I found, I think Ashlyn was one of the first people that I found on Wattpad, or she found me, or something like that. It was just funny because I had read her book, and she read some of mine, and it was just I don't know. It seemed like at the time I was kind of on the fence about how the community worked, and I didn't really have a lot of followers at the very beginning. It's kind of crazy what's happening now, and I mean it's because we've had a really good run so far with the corner booth, and I'm so grateful for everybody that's kind of gravitated on or floated on by my page and thought of me high enough to follow me, which is unbelievable. So thank you for all the new followers. I'm trying to get back to being as engaged as I was with Wattpad, the profile. I'm hoping that you consider these broadcasts a consolation prize for the times that I've been absent, and I have a fly in my house. That's just great. So anyways, I'm hoping that to really get back in the swing of things, but Nat has to adult. So it's just trying to get back into Wattpad is always an uphill battle, especially when you find momentum and you have to leave it for whatever reason. But I do kind of, we have about 12 minutes left, and before, I've asked this question before, but it's really interesting to hear, how it changes, progressively. But I would kind of, and this is kind of putting the panel on their feet, I didn't tell them that I was going to be answering or asking this question, but
Great.
Yeah. Woohoo! Thanks, Nat. I'm gonna get a lot of flack for this later. It's fun because after a broadcast, the panel actually sticks around after we close a broadcast. Unfortunately, not everybody can sit in for it, but we just kind of talk about our thoughts and comments, questions and concerns about any given broadcast, and it's a lot of fun getting to know this panel and kind of seeing glimpses into their lives. It's pretty awesome. But I'm just curious on how the corner booth has, made the Wattpad experience, or what it's done for your Wattpad experience, whether it's good or better, worse, indifferent. So I'm actually going to start with Lindsey because she works for the corner booth a lot. She does a lot for this project. So Lindsey, if you could just tell us, how has the corner booth affected your Wattpad experience?
Well, I would put it up there because I'm also one of the people in the Wattpad class of 2014. And I'd say it's a similar experience to that, where you meet some really awesome people, where you all have a common interest, writing, and you make more friends, you get introduced to more stories, you expand your horizons because of it. So I think that it would be because of that. And as for like working with the corner booth, I'm in journalism, so I really like the social networks and stuff like that. I really like media, and so being a part of all of this is just incredibly awesome.
Awesome. Well, I'm glad that you think that it's incredibly awesome because we love having you around. You're pretty awesome yourself. Miss Lindsey Lippincott, you do so much, and we really appreciate everything that you do, from the Facebook page to the Wattpad profile to, I want to take this moment to unveil something that Lindsey started, which was our first corner booth contest. And Lindsey, if you would just take a second to announce the grand prize winner after announcing the semifinalists, which would be pretty cool as well.
All right, so for the semifinalists, we have, let's see here.
Drum roll!
We have Christy Bell on Wattpad with her story Red Eye to Belfast, which when I get everything posted, you will see the person who nominated. I believe she was actually nominated by 2 people. So that's our first one. Then we have Seas of Me, who was nominated for her, I believe it's a collection of poems called Ocean Swing. And then our third one was B.R. Myers for her story Night Shift. So those were our 3 semifinalists.
Or I guess they're really finalists, right?
Well, yeah.
They're finalists. Yes.
Finalists.
Congratulations.
And
but
then our grand prize winner was Sally Mason XXX for her story. Which one was that? Let's see here. Living with the Choices We Make. So she's our grand prize winner, and then we have an interview that will be going up with each one of the 4 finalists. The people who were the runners-up, they'll get their own section put together, and then the grand prize winner will have a separate section for that, and that'll be showing up in our contest book within the next couple days.
Awesome. Yes, and the way that it worked, if you didn't catch, or if you're just a noob on the corner booth, what we did was we set up a contest where we had 4 of our panelists serve as judges, and thank you, panelists, for doing that. It does take time to do. And then we had a guest judge known as Samantha Pennington, or @Samantha, who works for Wattpad and does their fan fiction. And so essentially the way you entered this contest was you didn't enter this contest. Somebody else entered you into it. And so it just kind of keeps with that community of, really celebrating great writing, which is, that's what Wattpad is all about. So congratulations. I will be posting on my, and of course it'll be on the Corner Booth's Wattpad profile, but on mine, and as well as everybody else on the panel, we will be shouting out everyone this week, and we will have a complete list of all the Wattpad swag you will be receiving, grand prize winner. So hopefully, that's a nice little tag to put on your story, and the fact that you made it all the way top, congratulations. So please get in touch with either Lindsey or myself, and we'll kind of walk you through the rest of the way. And that goes for the people that were the finalists as well, because we do have to kind of set up those interviews, and I definitely want to talk to you. So thank you so much for participating in the contest. And now we're going to get back to the question that I had fielded earlier, which is how the Corner Booth has affected your life. And I'm going to bounce over to Miss Rita.
I totally agree with what Lindsey said earlier. It's just a wonderful way to get to know the panelists, some of the guests, Wattpad staff, more behind the scenes and more in depth than you would otherwise. Plus, it also makes me kind of think about my own writing a little bit more in depth with all the the questions that we prep for the show, and just try to think things through a little more logically when you're writing. A lot of times, if you're lucky, it just flows, but then it's good to step back and kind of think about, well, why do I do that, or should I continue doing that, or should I do it differently? And it's great to hear others talk about their own experiences and their methods and styles. So that's what I really like about the corner booth.
I'm glad that you like it, Rita. We like having you here. That's definitely. And Ms. Elise Noble, I know that you really can't answer the question in the way that the other panels have, but how have you enjoyed your very first corner booth experience?
It's been interesting meeting everyone.
That's a fancy way of saying it sucked. When somebody says that it's interesting, they don't say, "Oh, it was great. It was so much fun."
No, that's genuine. But I think for me, it wasn't that funny. For me, the corner booth and also other initiatives like Wattpad 4 and Facebook groups and things, I think it sort of gives you a two-pronged approach. One, you can improve your writing skills, and you can bounce ideas off each other, you can hear other people's ideas. And the other is the social side. It's great just to talk to people, and I love talking. I shouldn't talk so much, but yeah, it's great. I've met new people. I went to the convention in London last year for Wattpad as well, which was another great way of meeting people in person, and I've made some friends from there. So yeah, I hope that we carry on and have lots more things outside of just writing.
Absolutely. That's awesome. And Elise, you've been a pleasure to have. You say you need to talk less. We want to hear you talk more because I think everybody's eating up that British accent. That's pretty awesome. But I do want to, tell everybody that right now we are standing right over a really, really great kind of stat, which is, we're way over the 200 mark on subscribers. We just broke 1,000 followers on our Wattpad profile, which is amazing, and it's all a testament to Wattpad Nation and everything that you do for us. Lindsey has set up not only a Facebook account but an Instagram account. So if you have won a Wattpad mug, please take a selfie with it and send it over to either Lindsey or myself because we would love to post it on our Instagram. Now, I do want to talk about something called #JustWriteIt, and it's Wattpad's challenge to write 10,000 words in 30 days, something that we know you can do, and we hope that we're helping you do it. Take the pledge. There is a link down below this video, as well as links to all of the panel's Wattpad pages. And we're at the tail end of the broadcast, people. I mean, that was a really, really fast hour. We want to thank everybody. Continued thanks to Amanda Lai for all the promotional support that she gives us. You're unbelievably awesome. And everybody that gives us shout-outs on their own Wattpad profiles saying, hey, don't forget to watch the corner booth tonight. It's just amazing. Everything all the support that we've received. It's really, really wonderful to only have 2 haters out of all of the people that have really given us amazing support. I'll take it. Definitely. So, panel, if you would please say goodnight to Wattpad Nation. Yeah, like 2 people are on mute. They're saying goodnight, and they.
Wait.
Bye. Thanks for watching.
Bye. Thanks for watching, everybody.